Hello YouTube, it's Atticus. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well. I'm back with you with a really cool replay, another Dark Elf one, and today we have Loke here running with the Sisters of Singing Doom. We have a little goon squad here. But yeah, we're playing a Dark Elf versus High Elf game, guys. And yeah, this one's on the Dragon Isle map. It's really cool. A lot of woods, a lot of places for ambushes. And this was a very unique match to fight against, just because what my opponent brought here was something I've never really fought against. As you can see right here, he's brought in two different separate ambushes of Sisters of Avalorn. Yeah, each one in the woods with a Phoenix Guard protecting it. So yeah, this is really different. I never, like I said, I've never really fought against that. So we're gonna see how that strategy pans out for my opponent, and we'll go ahead and just jump into builds, guys. So for my build, of course, I'm taking Loke here. Mixed in with the Sisters of Singing Doom. And for my front line, guys, yeah, I just brought a bunch of Witch Elves. The thought process behind this would be I needed something that could chew through Spearmen and also would trap down any monsters or any cav, keep, pretty much just lock down any cycle charging and keep my opponent from doing that. Now, this is a little bit of a risk just before if the High Elves player was to bring like a lot of archers and stuff. And yeah, as you can see, my opponent has brought a lot of archers. So yeah, this is going to be really risky. It's really going to come down to me shutting them down, because yeah, the Sisters of Avalorn will shut these guys down within seconds. So it almost could say that I got counterpicked, but it's all going to come down to my auxiliary forces like my cav and things like that. I also have 2 units of spears on each side right here, guys, and then I have a mobile force right here of Cold One Knights. I have a Beast Sorceress with just the Manticore summon. I do believe that is the Manticore. Let's see here if it'll let me click on it. Yeah, that is the Manticore. I'm pretty sure it is. Then we have some Black Ark Corsairs with Hambos on each side, guys. And pretty much my last 5 games of playing Dark Elves, I've brought the Hambos. And yeah, there's just not a matchup these guys are not good at. And they're quickly becoming some of my favorite units on the Dark Elf roster. Here on this side, guys, you can see that I have another unit of Cold One Knights mixed in with a Chariot. And we have a unit of Shades, guys, which is going to come in a lot of handy just because they are cloaked. So my opponent's not going to know I have them until I actually, choose to ambush them. And we also have the Raven Heralds, guys. So I have a lot of, ranged potential myself. But, I'm going to get outclassed, of course, by these Sisters of Avalorn. They're just a way more powerful unit. But you can see that my opponent has sacrificed his cav and any mobile forces for the most powerful archering. So we're going to see how mobility versus just having a really strong, missile presence, which one pays off. So as my opponent, like I was saying, he has those 4 units of Sisters of Avalorn mixed in with 2 Phoenix Guards in each flank right here. And in the middle, guys, he has 3 different spearmen. He has a bolt thrower, and for his lord, he has Tyrion on his horse. So it looks like he has chosen not to take any magic, which, hey, I know a lot of people preach against, you have to have magic, but I've won hundreds of games without bringing a caster. Now, I will admit, it is kind of a waste to have that Winds of Magic and not use it, but it's not, it's not necessary to win. I've won plenty without it. So let's go ahead and start the match, guys, and we'll see how it goes. So we're just going to be really aggressive from the start, and you can see I'm just going to rush my force ahead. As of right now, I did not know that he has all these units here in the trees, so I'm going to start scouting ahead, and you can see that his Reaver Bolt Thrower is going to start shooting into the Spearmen. He probably wants to shoot that into the Sisters, or to the Witch Elves, as soon as possible. My Shades are going to start opening up. I figure he doesn't have any range units that could, counter it, so I'm going to start trying to focus down the Bolt Thrower, guys. You can see the Raven Heralds are doing the same. Over here, though, guys, some of his Sisters are going to start opening up, and look how quickly he's just melting down that Cold One Chariot. That's just a lot of damage coming in. They do magic damage, of course, but yeah, these Cold One Knights do have shields, guys, so when they do get in there, they're going to do a lot of damage. Let's go ahead and just slow it down right here so I don't miss anything. You can see that I'm going to get a Manticore summon from my Sorceress, which I'm immediately going to send in to deal with these guys. And you can see my Cold One Knights, I did rush them ahead. I didn't see that my opponent had these Phoenix Guard till it was too late, and you can see I'm instantly trying to pull them back before they rampage. All meanwhile, I have some spears and some Black Ark Corsairs that are going to come in and just try to pressure those guys. Here in the center, guys, you can see that we're absolutely going to shred through these guys just because, yeah, his Witch Elves aren't going to, last 2 seconds again, or excuse me, his Spearmen aren't going to last 2 seconds against these Witch Elves. And you can see, guys, the Raven Heroes are just shooting in Tyrion, and he's just taking a lot of damage. Yeah, that's what they excel at, is Lord Sniping. Over here, you see I'm going to get a nice juicy charge in by the Cold One Chariot. And yeah, we're just going to do a little, little bit of damage. But unfortunately, all that range is going to cause my chariots to rampage. So it's going to send them right in there to those Phoenix Guard, which is really unfortunate. And you can see I'm being really patient with these Cold One Knights. I can't send them in as long as he does have those Phoenix Guard. But I'm just using my forces right here, guys. My Shades, my Black Ark Corsairs of Hambos. And it's doing a lot of damage. You can see over here, guys, one of my Dread Spears were able to get into these Sisters of Avalorn. All meanwhile, this Manticore was able to get into this unit and shut him down. And yeah, it's kind of turning my opponent's plan upside down on him. You can see over here these Black Ark Corsairs are shooting into the Phoenix Guard, and it's doing a lot of damage considering they don't have armor piercing. Unfortunately, these Cold One Chariots did rampage into him, but yeah, guys, we're doing really good at pressuring his sisters, and they're a very expensive unit. Here in the middle, as predicted, you can see that absolutely just lawnmowered all through his troops. And this was another good thing about the sisters, guys. With Lokir, we're able to rampage Tyrion, and Lokir is a duelist, so he's going to do a lot of damage. Now, one-on-one, I think Tyrion would have the advantage, but yeah, it is working. Over here, guys, you can see that my Cold One Chariots were able to get around, and we're able to single out another unit of his Sisters of Avalorn, and it's doing really good. That's kind of the downside of playing Phoenix Guard, guys. They're not mobile, and if you only have one unit protecting 2 units of archers, yeah, you could just pressure, you could just pretty much just dance around him. And you can see here, wherever he goes to try to defend, he's just getting shot, and it's allowing me to attack his other units. Now my opponent is moving these Sisters of Avalorn here to the side. He's going to try to get himself into a position where he can fire, but yeah, I have some Cold One Knights that are going to come back from rampaging. Same with my Sisters of Avalorn, or Witch Elves, who are escorting all these spearmen off the map. Over here, Tyrion is going to get a really good one of his flaming attacks on these Witch Elves that have really low armor, and it's going to do a lot of damage. You can see he is going to be able to get his Lord away from that rampaging. Over on this side, guys, you can see the Shades are just destroying these Phoenix Guard, and this is what Shades excel at. Getting rid of high damage, or high armor, units like like Cavalry and Phoenix Guard, Hargonef Executioners, things like that. And you can see, guys, we're just singling out all his units. My Cold One Chariots dealing with these Sisters of Avalorn. My Cold One Knights are chasing these ones off the map, and yeah, now it's just a matter of just cleaning up these Phoenix Guard. Luckily, I do have a lot of range units, and yeah, he's just not going to be fast enough to keep him. And I forgot to mention, these were the Keepers of the Flame, so these guys do have the death blow. When they, when they do strike, when they die, they kill a unit themselves. And you can see that they are for killing my Manticore, but that's fine. It's a summon unit, guys. It's allowing these Black Ark Corsairs just to shoot him right into the back. Now, I'm going to get a little overzealous with my Sorceress. She is on a Cold One, so she does have a lot of armor piercing, but I have to be kind of careful. I don't want her to, get sniped. And you can see that we are going to get Tyrion caught out in the open again. And yeah, guys, my opponent, he has a really strong missile force, but he just didn't have the adequate ways of protecting him, and that's going to be a win for the Druki. So we'll go ahead and look at the in-screen breakdown, and we'll talk about some of the keys for my success. And yeah, I mean, this build was very experimental that my opponent brought. I think that you might still want to mix in a few Silver Helms. You need something to protect it. If you're going to have this much missile play, I maybe would have cut one unit and then brought some cav, either a couple of Silver Helms, even some Illyrian Reavers, a Chariot. If you can afford a Dragon Prince, just something to buy time. Because what you want to do with these, the Phoenix Guard are good, but you need something that's going to hold your opponent in place to allow them to shoot. And the Phoenix Guard is just not fast enough, to stop all the pressure that I had. So if you want to go like a build like this, guys, maybe cut the Phoenix Guard and instead take Dragon Princes, or bring Illyrian Reavers and some Spearmen. Have something that can actually keep up, hold my units in place, and allow these sisters just to absolutely melt. You can see that, by having all these powerful units, it made his front line really weak, and my sisters, I keep calling them sisters, my Witch Elves were able to slaughter them within seconds. And yeah, we just had far more mobility. We had the Lord sniping potential of the Raven Heralds, and it just kind of turned, my opponent, I respect him for this build. I think it, in a few different tweaks it could work, but yeah, it just didn't really pan out the way it needed to. So since that was a short game, guys, I am going to show you guys another Dark Elf game here. And we have a Dark Elf versus Bretonian one that I played earlier that I'm going to save. And yeah, you can see the builds right here. So let's go ahead and just jump into this one, guys. I'll start with my build. Should be loading here any second. Alright. So yeah, guys, this is generally a very hard matchup for me. I think Bretonia has all the tools they need to deal with the Dark Elves. Now, I mean, I'm not saying the Dark Bretonia has an advantage over the Dark Elves. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that in the hands of a good opponent, good player, Bretonia can easily deal with the Druchii, and I find that it's one of the hardest matchups for me personally to fight against. But this is a pretty safe build. This is something that I would usually take if I was going to go into like a tournament or something. And this is by far my favorite lord for dealing with Bretonia. It is the Dreadlord with repeater crossbow, and you can see, guys, I put him up with my favorite Dark Elf unit, period, the Raven Heralds. And yeah, I mean, I've done 5 or 6 different replays showing how good this synergy is, because he has that opponent, or he has that ability called the Guided Eye. Where's it at? Yeah, Guiding Eye, which gives armor-piercing missile damage. So yeah, you put him on a Dark Pegasus and you have him run at these guys, and all of a sudden they become beasts at armor-piercing. You can melt down lords, you can melt down cav, elite units. It's just so powerful, and many times, you know, your opponent's not going to have a very reliable way of countering these guys, especially as Bretonia, because all they have is mounted yeomen or peasant archers who don't have any mobility. For my front line, guys, you can see that I just brought a bunch of spears. I do have the Helibroni to anchor the middle, of course, if they're poison damage. And, yep, you guessed it, a secondary line of Black Orc Corsairs with handbows, and 3 of them, actually. And, I mean, they're just so good, guys. Bretonian infantry is going to get absolutely destroyed by them. They have enough armor to be able to trade with peasant archers. And, yeah, they'll even do a lot of damage to cav since they can fire while shooting. We also have a Bolt Thrower. We have a Sorceress of Death, and you can see that I brought Fated Buna, and I brought Spirit Leech. And we have one Cold One Knight here in the back, and then we have a Cold One Knight here in the side, flanking a Cold One Chariot. So this is a very powerful synergy right here too, guys. This has the armor-piercing missiles, and then, you know, if your enemy gets in close, you obviously send the cavalry. All meanwhile, you know, the Cold One Chariots could get into melee combat as well and do that armor-piercing. So yeah, that's my force. Pretty, you know, reliable defensive style of play against Bretonia. As for my opponent, he did bring the Fey Enchantress, and you can see that he's also split up his forces as well. He has a front line of spears, secondary line of battle pilgrims, middle arm of shields. He has 2 peasant bowmen, just the normal ones. He has some questing knights, knights errant. He has a Grail relic in the middle for leadership, and then he has the double paladin build with their armor piercing. And they also do have the guardian trait. So this is pretty common to have one on foot and then one up in the air. So I do like that. And he did bring the Fey Enchantress on foot. So yeah, this is very interesting. You don't really see her on foot a lot, just because it's nice to have that mobility. But she's not going to suffer anti-large attacks by being there, so maybe my opponent's onto something. Over on his secondary strike force, he has a Spearman unit, Foot Squires, Grail Guardians, and a Paladin up on a Pegasus. So yeah, real powerful, guys. We're going to see how this build works for him, and we're fighting on this big hill right here. So right off the bat, guys, I'm not going to know where he's at. All I'm going to see is this little group right here. I'm not going to know that he has these units. So, starting out, what I always like to do in this matchup, guys, is I'll send my Pegasus Knights and my Dreadlord to go scout, see if there's any early damage that I could get off. And yeah, we're just going to start flying them ahead. So we'll go ahead and just fast forward a little bit until I get into position. You can see my opponent is going to start moving up this force right here, all meanwhile moving this one up. And yeah, I am going to scout. I am going to see he has that secondary army. And immediately, guys, I'm going to see that he has no range units. So we're just going to try to start shooting in on this Paladin. You can see I'm going to get my magic missile from my Dreadlord. It's going to do a little bit of damage. I mean, it's free damage. And you can see my opponent is going to do Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught. Now, Deadly Onslaught probably didn't make sense until you actually get into combat. But unfortunately, the Raven Heralds don't have firewall moving, and I'm going to be forced to retreat. But if I can hold him up, if I can have him attacking the Dreadlord, then I can pull my Raven Heralds away and shoot him in the back. But what I figured I'd do is I try to lure him into my Bolt Thrower. And you can see, the guys, I'm going to start retreating to the safety of that Bolt Thrower. All meanwhile, my opponent is deciding to take the hill here. He is going to be marching up. And yeah, I'm not even going to try to fight that against Bretonia. It's usually better to play a lot more safer. Over here, you can see I'm going to have my Dreadlord kind of lure him away. I'm going to separate the Raven Heralds from my Dreadlord, and what this is going to do is going to allow these guys to start shooting. And you can see we're going to get some volleys, guys. We're doing some okay damage. You know, we're getting them almost down to half health. You know, since he is chasing my Dreadlord, I'm not going to be able to get the Guided Eye trait, and I have to be careful, guys, because this Paladin is anti-large. So, one-on-one, my Dreadlord would lose, but we're going to be in the Bolt Thrower's range here pretty shortly, and you can see that I'm going to decide to get into combat. But the Bolt Thrower is going to start opening up. Of course, is that Pegasus sitting still. or excuse me, that paladin sitting still, it's not going to be a very easy target. But I'm just hoping to play a little mind games with my opponent. And you can see we're just shooting in, but every single one is missed. And you can see my opponent is taking the paladin, and he is trying to kill the Raven Heralds, and he is going to get one for his trouble. But every time he splits up, he attacks the Raven Heralds, this allows my Dreadlord to start shooting into the back. So no matter where he goes, he's going to take some damage. Over here you can see that some of my Blacker Corsairs are going to start moving up. These guys do range as well. And yeah, I'm going to get another magic missile right into this paladin, and we're doing a lot of damage, even though this bolt thrower is pretty much missing every single one. Over on this side, guys, you can see that the peasant bowmen are going to get in position to start firing. I'm immediately going to pull away. Yeah, I just don't want to. My Raven Heroes have hardly any armor, and they'll start taking a lot of damage if I'm allowed them to get shot. And I'm going to switch the bolt thrower to the multi-shot, guys, and we're going to start doing a lot of damage into these peasant bowmen, especially all grouped up. They're unsupported. They don't have any protection. And yeah, this is going to allow the bolt thrower just to start raining hell on these guys. And we're going to see a couple volleys come in. I'm going to miss the first one, but another direct hit right here, guys. Going to just start shredding these filthy peasants. Meanwhile, my opponent's taking his sweet time with the hill. And yeah, now you can see, guys, now that I've lured away the paladin, I'm going to start shooting these Grell Guardians. And these are the most powerful unit that my opponent has on his roster. And it's going to allow me just to start shooting in with all my damage. You can see here comes a volley of the Raven Heralds. These guys have a lot of life, perfect vigor, magic damage, but yeah, sitting still right here. I don't think my opponent realized I was doing damage to these guys, and you can see we're just slowly and surely just melting them. It's it's really easy to forget about those, the damage potential of those Raven Heralds. This is something you have to really keep your eye on. Over here, guys, you can see that I am going to charge my Coldwind Knights and Chariot into these Knights Errant, and he's going to get another charge into by the Questing Knights, but I have the Dread Spears. He kind of was a little over anxious. He doesn't have any units that can support it. Now, he is going to be smart and immediately pull away just since he knows he can't win that fight, but yeah, the Bolt Thrower is just providing overwatch, guys, and it's just shooting in and just killing these Knights. My opponent really needs to get some infantry support to help win those guys. You can see the front lines are getting ready to collide now. I'm going to move up my Spears, guys, and all meanwhile, yeah, the Raven Heralds are just doing so much damage to these Grell Guardians, and these are not the anti-large one. These are the ones that are just meant to be in sustained combat. But yeah, guys, these Coldwind Knights are just doing so good, especially with the ranged overwatch of these Coldwind Knights, the Bolt Thrower. It's just too much. I mean, yeah, Questing Knights are really good, great armor piercing, but against all this, armor piercing that I have to bring to the table, his units are going to start to waver. You can see the front lines have collided, guys. We have peasants fighting spearmen. We have the Grail Relique here sitting in the side. We have the Paladin given some leadership buffs. But yeah, I just have a far more superior force. You can see I'm going to get a Faded Buno off on these Grail Guardians. I'm just trying to melt them as quickly as possible. And yeah, guys, you can see, especially with the overwatch of the Raven Herald and the Dreadlord, we're just destroying his most elite troops. And it's going to break those guys almost instantly. Balance of power is pretty strongly in my favor. You can see my opponent does have these Foot Squires and Spearmen coming up to support, but he's being a little bit too slow with him. He really needs to get those troops into position a lot quicker. You can see I'm going to get a Faded Buno off on the Fey Enchantress, and yeah, the Fey Enchantress has a Mortis Engine effect, and he really needs to get her into combat. It's kind of a waste not to have her doing that. Over here, my opponent did send his Paladin, and even though he is anti-large, he's not going to be enough to take out all these Coldwind Knights. And yeah, this is what I was talking about, guys. This is why the Hambos are so good. I mean, they just stand right behind your line, just shooting their arrows in, all meanwhile your infantry lines is colliding, and anything that tries to pressure them, they just run away. All meanwhile, guys, you can see that the Raven Heralds have just been causing, so much damage. My Coldwind Chariots, I am going to send into melee, and yeah, one charge will be enough to deal with these peasant bowmens, and now we can pretty much just kill these guys at my leisure. All meanwhile, my Dreadlord's just been shooting his ammunition in, and the Raven Heralds, I'm going to send into melee now that I've used all their ammunition. Dreadlord's going to get a really good hit into the Fey Enchantress and knock her on her butt, and yeah, guys, without the support of the Bretonian cavalry, their infantry is just not enough to hold, and you see, guys, yeah, I'm just going to get a nice juicy rear charge into them, and it's going to be enough to start breaking the leadership of the Bretonians. Over here, this Paladin is fighting strong, though. He's doing a lot, he's doing good, but yeah, you can see his lines are wavering. He just doesn't have enough to hold. Over here, it looks like there was some kind of spell getting ready to be cast, but he did stop, so it looks like my opponent kind of second guessed. And yeah, guys, you can see, look how quickly we dealt with those Foot Squires. The Spearmen, the Coldwind Knights, we have Spearmen here in the back, and yeah, the Fey Enchantress, and it's good of her to be on the foot. And you can see right here, it is keeping her alive that she's not taking those anti-large attacks, but she just keeps getting knocked over. So it's not, she's not really getting much value, even though she is having that Mortis engine effect. You can see that I am getting the Spirit Leech, which is going to slowly and surely start wearing her down. But yeah, at this point, my opponent's pretty much lost all his infantry. My opponent does have some Questing Knights and some Knights Errant who are coming back. He's going to get a nice downhill charge since some of my Dread Spear's flying. But yeah, I mean, I have the Bolt Thrower providing Overwatch. I have the Dreadlord providing Overwatch. And it looks like my opponent is going to get an Earthblood, so he is really trying to heal these guys, and there is some spear units mixed in, but it's just not looking too good. Over here, you can see the Knights Errant are dealing with some spearmen, and I have so much anti-large, he just doesn't really have a reliable way of doing damage. You can see that my Cold One Chariots are going to decide to try to shut down this Grail Relique, since it does give leadership, and it does give immune to psychology to anybody in a radius. But yeah, it is going to be army losses. We are going to collapse the remaining Bretonia forces, and it's going to be a second win for the Druchii, guys. So let's go ahead and look at the in-screen breakdown and talk about some of the keys for success in the second game here. And I would definitely say the the Raven Heralds being able to snipe those Grail Guardians before they even had a chance to really do much damage. The Bolt Thrower guys, and then the Black Orc Corsairs. These guys are just, they're just perfect. They're reliable damage. They're always just going to shoot behind your main battle line. They're going to be able to protect themselves, so you don't have to micro them, since they can fire while shooting. Yeah, guys, they can shoot in the air, they can shoot cav, they can shoot infantry. They're just really good in this matchup. The Cold One Chariot, guys, was able to shut down his archers. The Raven Heralds, look at that, 100 kills, guys. And then the Cold One, Cold One Knights, with the support of the Bolt Thrower, was enough to shut down his cav play. Moral of the story, though, guys, the Dreadlord Sword and Crossbow mixed in with the Raven Heralds is always a smart pick against Bretonian. And as for my opponent, good build. The double Paladin build is really common. That's a really smart move. I would have probably put the Fey Enchantress on her horse, or at the very least had her in sustained combat to get her Mortis effect. But yeah, I just kind of got a little bit luckier with my pick. I was able to do some good damage with the Raven Heralds, and it just kind of worked out in my favor. Alright, guys, so that's 2 games. I hope you guys enjoyed that. This is Atticus, and I will see you tomorrow. Alright, guys, bye-bye.